You know what? The Snatch Game was passable, and at this point, that's all I can ask for. Hi, hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Jer, and we are talking about Drag Race Season 17, Episode 7, Work the Game. I want to start off by saying thank you for all of you who watched the last video that I posted. That lip sync video was something I thought nobody would care about. Like, 100, 200 views max, but I thought it was fun, so I wanted to do it. Thank you for watching that, and thank you for how many of you engaged with that. It really made me very happy. So let's get into this episode because we are finally in the Snatch Game, the most pivotal moment in Drag Race, because this is where you really stamp your mark with RuPaul. The entire goal of Snatch Game is to make RuPaul laugh and to appeal to her Cocomelon brain. I have so many thoughts and so many things swirling around my brain, but let's start from the beginning. The girls are quite jovial about Hormona going home. Corey is ecstatic and is not hiding that excitement. I will be honest, I didn't love Hormona in Drag Race. I don't think she's very good at the show, but I think she's quite delightful and entertaining in a shady and resilient kind of a way. I just don't know if her personality translates to camera. Like, you can't serve Southern shade. That's something you experience kind of one-on-one. A lot of the sweet Southern charm girls either come off super big or merely muted. The bless your heart type characters are often pretty muted. Corey and I are sharing a very big opinion about the group of girls this week, and that opinion is really the storyline of this episode. The girls are gassing each other up, whether it's to each other as friends or to others in the room. Girl, you're so good. You're everything, diva. And that gassing up is building people up to a place where what they're saying they're doing is not totally congruent with what's happening on the show. That's not to shade anybody in particular, because I know y'all like to go, you shaded blah, 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 broadly people. And I think that Corey is one of the only people in the room who understands what she's serving. She knows that her drag is low-key. She knows that she's serving mini dresses, and she knows that she's not giving 700% like the girls are, but she's being realistic about her placement. Corey is doing a lot of what Plain did. She knew exactly what she was serving and she never tried to do anything else. With the exception of that ugly green dress where she tried to convince everyone that it was great when it was bad. Plain knew exactly what her plate was and what kind of food was on that plate. And Corey's not pretending either what's on her plate. And I noticed that she got a pretty heavy edit this episode. And I love that. I think she's a great narrator for the show. Hormona leaving her bob in the workroom was absolutely psychotic, but I lived. And we jump directly into the Snatch Game. There is no exposition. It is, hey, we're in the workroom. Hormona's gone. Hey ladies, Snatch Game time. It feels a little early for Snatch Game, no? And I kind of wish we had waited so maybe we could cut down on some of the filler cringe. Alyssa being here for Snatch Game was wild because shouldn't they bring in someone who does good at Snatch Game? I guess they don't have a good working relationship with Alaska, but she would have been a better option because she is so good at Snatch Game. I think about Alyssa saying, "Rue, never," all the time. Iconically bad moments. Iconically bad moments. Do you remember that one time they brought Vanjie in for Snatch Game and she looked around like, I don't know why I'm here? And they did this really clunky edit moment where they made Sam Starr say that Alyssa was the winner of Global All-Stars, when I think they would have been filming this at the time that production would have even been wrapping. But if you listen closely, that sentence was so Frankenstein. They probably had her say a long-winded, Alyssa Edwards is a global icon and she is such a great contestant on RuPaul's Drag Race. She's been on All Stars and she won a challenge. And they probably took all of those things and spliced it together into one thing. So it sounded like Sam said, Alyssa Edwards, the winner of Global All Stars. It was the most crazy thing. They did that to Daya in season 14. One of her runways where they totally copy-pasted words that were not said in the same sentence and it sounded weird. The inflections were wrong. I digress. Let's talk about the run-throughs. And I have a personal beef. I don't want to see babies and devils and cryptids. I am so tired of characters that are not characters. And I want to do a whole video about why I think Snatch Game is a problem. If y'all want to see that, let me know because I would love to make that video. I might just do it anyway. Snatch Game originated out of what naturally happens in the drag scene, which is you have a character impersonation you do. And the reason for that is because characters get patrons in seats. They're looking at a flyer while they're at the glory hole and it says Delta Work performing as Cher, and you think, I want to go see a Cher performance, let's go see what that girl's doing. So then you go and you watch the Cher performance and you're sat at the bar because of the celebrity impersonation. So Snatch Game is derived from that natural thing that happens in the nightclub. When you bring it to television, those early seasons were about celebrity impersonation. How well can you portray that character and be funny in the style of Match Game / Hollywood Squares? And over time it has devolved into, what does RuPaul think is really hilarious? When you're looking at RuPaul's iPad Kid brain, what is gonna make that laugh? And even though some characters like the Sasquatch and the Devil are going to make Ru laugh, I'm just tired of it. I want real people from real life. And there are so many celebrities that have never been done on the Snatch Game, at least not in the US ones, that we desperately need. Arietti doing a baby character was insane to me because name a time where a baby character has been funny. Blue Ivy was a bomb when the Vixen did it. When Aurora did the I'm Baby thing in Canada 4, that was a bomb. This is further proof that Gen Z has zero comprehension that the I'm Baby thing is kind of only funny on Twitter for like 5 seconds. I'm Baby is not funny. Showing your inability to evolve and to progress, and that you're sort of just this creature that can't help themselves and you can't do anything or know anything because you're just a little itty bitty baby. It's not funny. The train for I'm Baby passed when Aquaria and Eureka did it back in the original Bossy Rossi. That was the only time that RuPaul has found that shit funny. And it needs to get scrapped. Can we please, as a collective, convince Gen Zers that that is not funny? In the same way that millennials doing the millennial vocal fry thing has sort of lost its humor. Some girls like Perla doing it in Snatch Game was hilarious, but it doesn't translate to TV very well. I'm enjoying RuPaul's hosting personality this season, and I love that she's leaning more into, I'm gonna stir the pot. She did it a couple weeks ago when she told Lana that the judges wanted to boot her. And she did it with Corey this week, telling her to cut it out with those little booty shoes that she's been wearing. I love her going and rummaging around the station to grab the shoes to publicly shame her. This television hosting role is quite funny, and I hope that Ru continues to lead into that, cluing the girls and the audience into things that are happening maybe behind the judges' table that the camera is not catching. And Ru failed to do with Anya what she successfully did to Scarlet Harlot in UK3, which was make her change her character. Do you remember when Ru told Scarlet that she should play Macaulay Culkin because she looked like her? Do you remember when Ru tried to convince Crystal Method to play El DeBarge because Crystal reminded Ru of El DeBarge? Crystal didn't know who that was, and Anya didn't know who Ru's suggestion was. And it makes me so happy when the girls stick to their character and say, I don't know who that is, so I'm not gonna embarrass myself. I know that you might think it's funny, but I don't know anything about that, and I will not end up sabotaging myself. So props to Anya for sticking to Eddie Murphy, because that was a big success. In the actual Snatch Game, we have Alyssa Edwards, who looked great, but then there was a super tone-deaf gay eye butt plug. And I think that was stupid as hell. Again, tone-deaf? A lot of queer people are quite resistant towards AI. A lot of young people are quite resistant to AI because AI is stealing from artists. AI is what is preventing a lot of young people from getting jobs because these corporations are utilizing AI to screen out resumes, and AI is saying, they're not a good fit, rather than a real human being looking and deciding if someone's a good fit for the company or not. So most young people are not happy with what AI is, and that it's infected our culture. A lot of us don't want to have anything to do with it. So Drag Race leaning in on that and replacing what would normally be a panelist with AI is further proof that this production company is very far removed from their fandom. I don't know many people that are yes-godding over AI, especially queer people who are marginalized already. My 2 cents. And if you disagree, that's fine, but why are you simping for something that is actively harming not only you, but your peers? And stealing! That should have been a panelist. It could have been literally anybody. Stick Michelle on there with Alyssa and that would have been fine. We have Acacia doing Trisha Paytas, which I know has already been done. I don't particularly care about Trisha Paytas. I think her time has come and gone. I think a lot of people have moved on from that humor. She has some funny moments and she's got some good memes, but meme culture doesn't always translate to Drag Race. I would have loved to have seen Acacia do Dolly. I think that would have been quite funny. Susie did Ellen Green, and I posted a video here on YouTube that I posted on TikTok doing kind of an in-depth discussion about this, but I'll rehash my thoughts here in case you haven't seen it. I think Ellen Green as a character is too narrow of a lens. When you pick someone from queer media that maybe is a little more niche, it has to be a character that's instantly recognizable, especially to RuPaul. And Susie was quite insistent that her character was funny, even though it wasn't. And was quite insistent that RuPaul's opinion didn't matter if it was funny or not, which it wasn't a funny performance. And she even said that if Ru had seen Little Shop before watching Snatch Game, she would have thought the character was hilarious. And if perceiving your character requires supplementary information, your character's probably not funny. Plus, it's very likely that Ru has seen Little Shop and enjoys Little Shop, understands the reference, and still didn't find it funny. Because Susie relied on a speech impediment, which is not funny. I don't think it's ever been funny. And Ru tends to find that humor kind of cringeworthy. We see Ru recoil and do the anytime someone does a character that has a vocal tick. So that's Ru 101 for Snatch Game in my opinion. Choose someone that Ru is going to understand right away, and don't choose someone that requires a very niche concept to drive your humor. And I want to hold space for Rocky Horror because it's undeniable that that is a staple of queer cinema. It just wasn't a good character choice for Susie with what she wanted to do with that. If I was going to choose a niche queer cinema character, I would have picked Goldie Hawn in Death Becomes Her because that character is crazy. That's an easy character to latch on to and be funny in. Be obsessive over Meryl Streep and her career and her success, and lean in on disliking Meryl rather than disliking Madeline. Lean in on being obsessive over your answers and doing it in that coy, sexy way. I'm thinking of her Narcanol monologue in Death Becomes Her and how much you could pull from that. The "what part of the plan was unclear to you" is a great line. That was extremely unnecessary. There are so many riffs you could pull off of the shotgun scene. I feel like choosing Ellen Green would have been like choosing Debbie Harry in Hairspray, the John Waters version. It's just too narrow of a concept, and it lost a lot of its humor because she was so committed to her one bit that it was like Jaden doing The Visions or Love Masisi doing Slave to the Rhythm. It just stopped being funny after the first time. Lexi as Gilbert Gottfried was kind of crazy, and the fact that she ended up in the top was wild to me. Lexi, as far as I can remember, is one of the first contestants to be in the top for doing badly. She struggled to stay in character, and I thought it was quite terrible to watch. Like, I felt bad for her. But she ended up in the top because they really like her, and I'm not even mad, I'm a Lexi apologist. Sam was Kim Gravel, and my unpopular opinion is that Sam didn't do anything special. Sam was just Sam in a bus driver wig. And I also didn't love her interjecting so often into other people's answers, or answering afterwards. We've seen people like Alaska or even Eureka that grab the spotlight and attention after someone said something that maybe wasn't funny, so they insert their own joke. And I think there is space for that in Snatch Game, but when you're doing it constantly, it feels like you're trying to be a scene stealer, and I didn't love that, but it really was just her in a small wig. Lana did Rosa Parks, and this was a really awful choice for Lana. I don't know why she just didn't do Lana Del Rey. Like, that seems obvious. Pussy tastes like cherry cola. You could totally riff off of that. That would be really easy to play off of, considering that Lana's kind of a one-note, kind of monotone character, and I think that Lana Del Rey is kind of a, like, low-key character. It seems pretty easy to connect her drag into that character. Plus, their name, it seems to be a play off of Lana Del Rey. Lana Del Rey. Am I crazy? Am I missing something here? Rosa Parks is an odd choice because that is a cultural moment that is important, but how do you make that funny? And I think it was said during judges' critiques that she could have played a inconvenienced woman. She could have played really big, and yet she just muted herself. And blaming RuPaul for her performance, saying that Ru took her line at the beginning, was batshit to me. If you're gonna blame anybody for your bad performance, don't blame the host. Every time that Ru said, let's go on over to Rosa, I yelled, please don't! Anya did Eddie Murphy, and when I heard this, I immediately was like, okay, this could be really iconic, or this could be whatever. It ended up having the same iconography, in my opinion, as when Kennedy Davenport did Little Richard. As soon as she spoke with that big smile and had the voice down, I cackled. Anya clearly studied this character, knows the voice, knows the reference points, had all the memes, and was able to translate those well to TV and to the Snatch Game. She, in my opinion, was the clear obliterator of this challenge. She killed it. She left no crumbs. Her impersonation was so funny and so spot on and so perfect. I was very proud of Anya this week. Arietti I've talked enough about, but it was objectively one of the worst performances of the night, and there were almost no good moments to it. Lydia playing David Lynch was insane because of the makeup. I don't really think she went anywhere spectacular with it, but I also don't think she was bad either. Jules was playing Miss Big Feet, and I already have spoken my piece on this. I'm kind of tired of characters that are not characters. I don't know how she could have played really anybody else, but I wish that it had been a real person and not a made-up one. I want Snatch Game to be about the people that exist in real life that have not been portrayed funny. I do, however, commend Jules' commitment to being ugly, because that character was gross and ugly, and so far we've had a lot of poised, polished beauty from Jules. We haven't seen her really act a fool or get gross, so I was glad to see her do something that was clearly very out of her comfort zone. Crystal did Nicole Richie, and in my opinion, she looked a little bit like when Fame did Donatella Versace. Like, she looked rough. Like, that was a rough looking woman. And it wasn't funny. She had zero personality through the entire challenge. And Nicole Richie is someone who can be very funny. Nicole Richie is someone who has a dry sensibility in her humor that is hilarious. And that was gone. And Corey did Big Ange, which is now the second time that this has been done, but it was not acknowledged at all because that would require Drag Race to talk about Pearl, and I know they don't want to talk about that girl. So doing a character done by a queen that the show does not affiliate itself with was quite smart because you'll never get compared to them. It'd be like if someone did Jessica Simpson these days. No one at that set is going to talk about Willem. So you could easily get away with doing a Jessica Simpson and your storyline will not intermesh with her. Kind of smart thinking. It was a funny performance, and I do think that she was one of the better ones of the night. Certainly better in my opinion than Sam was, because I didn't think that would be a character that would be hilarious. My favorite parts of the Snatch Game were Anya and when the Snatch Game ended. So let's move into the runway, where the category is Nailed It. I wasn't sure where this was gonna go. Either it was gonna be long nails or it was gonna be dresses made of nails. And I think, again, the problem is that this category was too open. We have seen time and time again from this group of girls that when they are given assignments that are too broad, they don't hit the target. They sort of veer off somewhere else. These girls need something really specific and zeroed in to a defined topic in order to succeed at it. And I think maybe this was too broad for them. But let's talk about them anyway, and we will be ranking them this week. I'm gonna do things a little bit different and talk from my number 11 up to my number 1. So in the number 11 spot, we have Lana Jure. In my opinion, this was just a little boring. I appreciate that there was a big hand wrapping around the dress. You can see the nails on it and the fingers, and I think that is interesting as a concept, but overall it was just flat and lacked dimension for me, and the focus wasn't so much on the nails. I loved the hand in the hair, but it lacked some iconography in a way that I think someone like Simone did a great job when she did the period hands, and it just didn't have enough dimension and pizzazz to make it stand out. In the number 10 spot, I have Sam Starr, a plastic surgery line for Drag Race. Groundbreaking. I'm exhausted by the plastic surgery looks. We've seen Miss Fame do it, we've seen Akira do it. There have been so many girls on Drag Race who have done plastic surgery storylines, and Michelle typically digs into them and yells about how it's been overdone. But we did not get that edit this time about how it's been too overdone. Michelle had no problem talking about how Barbie's been shoved down people's throats, but then conveniently forgot that there have been 15 other plastic surgery runways on RuPaul's Drag Race. And I mean, objectively, I think this one is fine. I don't think it's the best or the worst one. Like, I would say this is maybe better than Akira's in season 11. Worse, obviously, than Fame's. And I think Akira did another plastic surgery, or like a pin needle that looked very plastic surgery, in season 6 of All Stars. And I'm forgetting who else has done one because there's been so many. This is like very middle of the pack, but I do appreciate that it's spiky. It just doesn't have anything to do with nails. It's surgery. In the number 9 slot, I placed Corey King. This is a mime inspiration look, and while I appreciate the humor of doing a French tip, French mime, and she's not even French, she's from Montreal. It's just super low key. In the number 8 spot, I put Jules, and the reason I put her here is because I think this look did not translate very well on the runway what it was supposed to be. I love the story behind it, that she is talking about her injury, she's talking about her tumor, she's talking about her success in rising up against that and in opposition of something that tried to bring her down. I just don't know if that storyline translated through a metallic bodysuit with fingerprints on it and a couple of nails here and there that were sort of interspersed on it. I think her makeup looks bulletproof, but the look is not my favorite. I appreciated the story, but it didn't translate, so it was middle of the road for me. In the number 6 slot, I put Ariete. I really do like this futuristic cat with extra arms and extra paws and all these nails. I think the makeup is so intricate and wild, and I really love this commitment to the makeup. I think not taking Michelle's critiques is going to create a lot of interest and a lot of empathy from us as an audience. We're going to be more drawn to Ariete because she's staying true to herself. And this artistry is incredible. I love the little swirly baby hairs. I love this monochromatic bodysuit. And I think she looks cool. It's a POV that wasn't done by anybody else, and so I like that. In the number 5 slot is Lexi, and I know that it's just a basic Cher look, but I like that she did a celebrity impersonation on the Celebrity Impersonation Challenge. The little Cher nails with her face painted all over them was such a fun detail. I love the long hair. That is 40 inches. I love this mesh bodysuit with all the crystals and the fringe. She just looks hot and sexy, and I like this POV, especially it being celebrity impersonation during a challenge about that. It ties in the runway with the challenge. Made me happy. In the number 4 slot is Acacia Forgot. Now I know that I ripped apart Sam Starr for not doing nails and doing surgery, and this is a Swiss Army knife, not nails. However, I like this. We have not seen a Swiss Army knife like this on Drag Race. I think maybe one other girl has done one, and I'm completely blanking on who it was, but I know we've seen at least one before. I really like the difference in silhouette here with the big exaggerated shoulders, the way that it comes up, and then there's also a shoulder pad in here. I like the sleekness of this gown and the hat, the nails being super intricate with each one of them being a different part of the Swiss Army knife. I think this is a fun POV and I like the silhouette quite a bit. I think the colors look great on her and I love this wig. She's high because I like what she's wearing. In the number 3 slot is Lydia B. Collins. I put Lydia here because for once in this entire competition, I am obsessed with what Lydia is wearing. Normally, my problem with Lydia is that her outfits are wearing her. They are so bulky and have no POV that she loses shape and it's just volume and loudness, but nothing's being said with the garment. This is so sleek and focused and clean while having a sort of scary, horrific POV with all these little tiny hands on her head that have the nails on them, and then these long dragging nails that go all the way down to her calf. It's sort of scary, it's sort of frightening, it's sort of uncomfortable to look at, and yet that I think is very much what her drag is. And I like that this has finally sort of come in focus of what she's doing. It took 7 runways, but we're finally here. And I hope that her silhouettes remain kind of clean like this and she loses a lot of that bulk. It seems that she's probably editing, and I hope that's what's happening because I like this look a lot. In the number 2 slot is Anya Nerve. I love how much, and I've said this before, that Anya celebrates her blackness in such a beautiful and special way. And I love that she was unapologetically black here, choosing a 90s reference, but not a white sanitized 90s. She was going full black 90s, and I love that. This high-waisted booty short with the rhinestones on it, the really long nails, the nails in the wig, this super sculptural hair moment. I love the tie-dye that's on the shirt with her name on it, saying Anya Nails is such fun wordplay. I love that there's even nail polish that has been attached to the band of these overall suspenders. The big necklace, she just looks so freaking cool. And I love how much this just celebrates her POV. And then there's even bandanas on it. Like, this is such a strong and spectacular look. And then in the number 1 slot is Susie Toot. And I put this here because it took Nailed It and it flipped it around. It wasn't just fingernails. This was hammered in nails. Construction nails, mama. Doing an Iron Maiden as a look for Nailed It is so freaking cool. I can't even express to y'all how happy this made me. I knew exactly what it was when she came out and I saw the back of that look. I knew exactly what it was supposed to be. And then she turned around and this bodysuit with these nails sticking out of it. If you don't know what an Iron Maiden is, look it up. It's horrifying. And this is such a freaking cool look, man. I want to know how she got this through TSA. Like, when she packaged this and put it in her suitcase and that went flying through that big screen and they saw those spikes, I want to know if anybody there was like, what the hell is that? We need to get that out. We need to look at that and make sure that this is not a security risk. Because I can't believe that made it through the airport. This look is so good. The makeup is nice and soft and clean and has a strong POV. Oh, she just looks luxe in how wild this look is. It's quite scary in the same way that Lydia's is, and it has such a specific POV. I'm really happy to see this. And in my opinion, this is a great interpretation on the challenge.
Hi everyone. In my haste to try and get through this episode, because I was already talking for about 35 minutes at this point, I somehow completely forgot to talk about Crystal's look. So really quick, I just want to say that I commend her for being so committed to doing something that was outside of her box and outside of just being a pretty girl. I was pretty shocked to see that she did something that was so grand in scale, that was so kind of gross looking, this Neanderthal with the really long fingernails, but it was very good. And I can't believe that I somehow didn't even catch during recording that I didn't talk about it, but that was my number 7 spot. One last thing on an editing note that I forgot to talk about during the actual Snatch Game was a lot of problems with this particular Snatch Game where that a lot of the girls didn't yes and. They but no'd. They stopped at points where they could have volleyed and where they could have bantered, and they actively chose to not participate in the challenge, which is a test of your ability to take something, hear it, listen, and spit back something. That's a key part of improv. It's knowing how to yes and a lot of these girls didn't do that. Pretty much everybody in the cast did not do that, with the exception of Anya, and even then, I don't know if she was yes-anding that much. Sam Star was yes-anding, but she was yes-anding with people that were not involved in the conversation with her. She was just inserting herself in places. So this was one of the more egregious Snatch Games, in my opinion, of people just not understanding what improv is, and that was bothersome, just as a viewer and as a fan of not only the show, but also of just drag.
During the critiques, Anya got a note that she could have hosted SNL, which is kind of funny because she was the host of the SNL challenge, and in my opinion, she should have won that week. This easily could have been Anya's third win of the season, and I would be yes-godding about it. During Untucked, Susie has drunk from a big gulp-sized cup of delusion. Again, go watch the video that I already posted to get more in-depth thoughts about this, and I already spoke about this earlier. One of my biggest problems was her bringing down Anya. And something that I find very interesting about Anya's trajectory on the show is that her storyline has been absolutely driven by the fact that she does not connect with other drag queens, she feels underestimated by other drag queens, and she feels underestimated in the competition. Which is kind of hilarious that her name is Anya Nerve, and she's pissing everybody off. They've critiqued her drag, they've brought her down when she was feeling good, they diminished some of her successes, and that's something that the editors are allowing us to see, to really drive in that she is the underdog of the season. And we haven't seen this kind of edit from anyone since like Chi-Chi DeVayne, who was being underestimated by Thorgy and Acid and Derek Barry. Robbie mentioned Chi-Chi and pulled her down. And there are these girls who are able to connect with Rue very early and quickly, maybe despite other girls doing really great or giving it their all. Some of these girls just connect early, and I think there's a jealousy in that why have you made a connection and I'm still trying? It's very Ellie Diamond and Lawrence Chaney coded. Why don't you say my name with the voice? Because Ellie, I think, was experiencing some jealous frustration that Lawrence was connecting in a way that she was not breaking through on. And I think this is going to eventually lead to Anya winning the whole thing, because she's got winner energy. She has star power in a way that not a lot of other contestants on this season have. And she has such a strong trajectory of being underestimated and having friction with others and simultaneously not being bothered by any of it. She's keeping her head held high. She's competition focused. She's not leaning in on, oh, I'm just a victim. She's just being good. And I think there's something inspiring about that is going to lead her to win. Anya is the winner of the Snatch Game, which aligns with my fantasy, and our bottom two are unfortunately Crystal Envy and Lana Jure. I agreed with this bottom two. A lot of people think that Crystal should not have gone home, but here's my 2 cents, and I also posted a video about this. You can go and watch for a little more. Crystal is essentially only emerged as one character archetype on Drag Race. And when you're on the show, you're cast for a role. Whether that be to play the delusional girl, to play the fashion girl, to play the bitchy girl, to play the shady girl. You're cast with one role in mind, and you have to let your other personalities emerge. You have to let the rest of your personality emerge so that there's a reason to keep you. Your personality and your storyline is sort of parallel to somebody else. Whoever is more interesting of those two is going to stay. So I referenced Jade Jolie in that video. Someone who in season 5 was playing the ditzy, kind of cute, sweet girl, but was also starting to emerge as a shady girl. Her ditzy role character, her ditzy happy character, was already parallel to Ivy Winters, and Rue liked Ivy more. So Jade didn't need to be there to fulfill that role. So then her secondary trait, which started coming up as being the shady girl, was in parallel way too much with where Detox and Roxy and Coco were. So she's sort of unnecessary to keep because these three are here. So then it comes down to storyline. What is she giving? She has friction with Alyssa Edwards. But who else has friction with Alyssa Edwards? Coco Montrese. So again, she doesn't need to be there. She probably could have stayed if Rue didn't like Ivy so much. But Rue did like Ivy Winters. So Jade was out. And I like to reference season 5 because it has everything that you could look for in a Drag Race season as far as television. Crystal so far is just the pageant girl. She's just polished and clean, but her humor is dry. Sam Starr is doing the pageant girl character. She's already playing that, and she's dual typing her character with bubbly, funny, kind of weird, goofy, quirky freak. And that is always going to be more interesting on TV than a dry sensibility. I look at a pageant queen who is a little dry, like Kennedy Davenport. Kennedy was dry and sort of sharp. But as the competition went on, she started emerging as someone who was silly. And she allowed her silliness to come out, which kept her in the trajectory of the judges longer than someone like Jasmine Masters. It kept her on the trajectory longer than someone like, let's say, Candy Ho, who was also a pageanty girl. So ultimately, Crystal wasn't giving anything else. If Crystal had friction with someone in the workroom, if Crystal had a fight with somebody, I think it would have been more likely that she would have stayed. Because let's be real, Lana's hair came off, and that's a huge no-no. That is a big get out of here. However, Lana is playing the Delulu girl right now. That's what her edit is. She thinks that she's a fashion girl, she thinks that she's really serving on the runway, but the judges are not seeing that. What's coming out of her mouth and what we're seeing the judges critique her on is not congruent with each other. There's nobody else on the cast that's playing the Delulu girl. Hormona was, and they booted her out. Susie had moments of delusion, but she's not leaning into that. She's the quirky makeup girl like Arietti. And Arietti has production friction. So she's got good trajectory. But eventually Arietti, I think, is going to get knocked out to support Susie being the weird makeup girl. And Lana, being this character who is sort of Delulu, is going to either get the classic Jan edit where this girl thinks that she's serving it, but the judges don't like it, so we're going to embarrass her on TV. Or she's going to get the edit where she thinks she's serving and she's not, and she eventually breaks through and shows the judges what she's been saying she's going to do this whole time. So long-term wise, Lana has more storyline than Crystal does. That's just the long and short of it, because Drag Race is an edited TV show. But I do feel really bad for Crystal because if I went home on a Neanderthal look and I looked like that in the last impression that people saw of me on TV, I would end my career. I would never be seen on any form of entertainment again. I'd be like, I don't ever want that reaction image to follow me around in my career. Bye. Next week is a Wicked Rusical, and if I'm not mistaken, they did a Wicked Rusical in Philippines, no? World of Wonder has this bug up their butt of recycling challenges from an international season to a mainline. They love to experiment somewhere and then stick that challenge somewhere else and then maybe make it better. Classic example of this is from Holland 2, where they did a glamping challenge and then did it in UK 3 and tried to make it better. And so I'm very curious what the critiques are going to be from the fans who love Drag Race Philippines and are probably inevitably going to compare these two Rusicals together. Kind of bold to do the same Rusical, especially from a franchise that is very well loved and tested really well, and was received really well. So I'm curious what this one's going to be like, especially because we don't seem to have a lot of Rusical girls. I feel like this might be the time where Lydia's gonna be out. I could even see this being Corey's out. And maybe this will be Lana's shining star because she does sing. But her performance is so low-key, as we've seen every time she's had to lip sync. She just doesn't give a lot in the face. So unless she's playing someone that doesn't have any energy, I don't know how well she's gonna do either. And considering that her trajectory has sort of been we're eventually gonna get the explosion where she's out. And honestly, I think that it's gonna be absolutely worked out by Anya. I don't know why, I just see her killing this. And I'm so excited to see it. I hope she gets a third win. What did y'all think about this episode? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see y'all on the flip.